Rasty McGibbon with President of Assiniboine Community College, Mark Frison. Mark, welcome back to the National Tournament.
Thanks for having me.
So, first of all, as you were telling me a little earlier this morning, you were New Brunswick or Nova Scotia with curling, and then you're...
Yeah, our curling, we got back into curling this year, first time since the early 90s. We're actually Canadian champions in curling in, I think, 88 and 89. And then a bunch of our athletic programs all got wiped out in the early 90s, and curling went with it. And this is the first year curling's been brought back, and we got a shot to go to the National Championship. And so, yeah, I was out there with the teams up until last night.
How, we got to know each other a little bit last year. How do you put a value on your in-person support for ACC athletics?
I think it's something that I value personally, the athletic programs at the college, for a variety of reasons. And so when I can spare the time, I love to go on the road to support the team. Right? It's not always like the last time they played in St. Louis and we won the national championship. I couldn't be here, and I missed that. I'm a St. Louis Blues fan, so it's always
really?
To miss coming to St. Louis the last time was unfortunate. But being able to come this time was great. And to be honest, going on the road for a week like this is essentially what it'll be, but for the beginning to the end, you get a chance to do some thinking and do some other planning. I took some meetings, obviously, when I was here. There's another Canadian college president who was here. We were upstairs having a little chat about some things that are going on with international students in Canada. So you get some work in as well.
But before we dive into the hockey part, just before we came on, the team and yourself are based there in Brandon, in Western Manitoba. But tell me about the Assiniboine Community College network in Manitoba.
Sure.
And the educational opportunities it provides.
Look, we're a provincial college, so yeah, our main installation are in Brandon, and so we have a couple of campuses there. But then we have campuses in Dauphin and Winnipeg, a permanent site in Portage La Prairie, and then offer programs in about 25 communities across the province every year. So we're the national leader in community-based education in Canada, and a lot of those partnerships are with Indigenous communities, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. Like in nursing alone, we offer programs right now in 11 different communities. So trying to put the programs on close to where the people live and where the jobs are. And so that's a real specialty of our college.
How important that, my day job, I work in healthcare. How important is it for young men and women that, for say, are interested in nursing to be able to get educated close to home? Do you find that there's a higher frequency that they will then go back and work in their original community?
Absolutely. And so, in fact, we will take applications first and foremost within a 45-minute drive of that campus location in order to give priority to the people who live there. Because one of the things we see a lot of in Canada are what we call agency nurses. So when you can't find enough nurses, they pay private companies to send their nurses in. And it elevates the cost, and it's not as great for care, because when the nurse lives in that community and he or she goes in every day, they know those patients. They know who it is. They know the families. They're familiar with the setting. They're not spending their time foraging, like where do we keep this or that. Right? But when you have to bring in agency nurses, it drives up the cost, the care isn't as good. So offering it close to home is not only good for those people who might be place-bound who want those opportunities, but better patient care. Right? I was fortunate enough that I served as the chair of one of the health region boards, and so getting to understand it from that side was important too, to understand how do we make these things tick.
I worked in healthcare through the pandemic here in the United States, from Ontario, but reside in the United States now. And in the States, we call them travel nurses, okay?
Right, yeah.
But yes, definitely it was a tremendous amount of travel nurses during the pandemic. And so I would resonate what you're saying. When we can get some nurses that are from close to home, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
How are other ways that you feel that Assiniboine is meeting the educational needs of the province of Manitoba?
Well, look, we're very tuned into the labor market, right? So we want to make sure that we have a great match between what we're offering and what the economy demands. Right now we're the ag college for the province as well. We've got a project we've been trying to put together. It's a Prairie Innovation Center. So looks at how we can help solve the labor shortage in agriculture. Right, 1 in 3 jobs in Manitoba in agriculture is expected to go unfilled by 2029, and so we've got a plan where we've been trying to grow the number of seats we have to be able to address that. And so, that's our leading sector, obviously, for the province. And Manitoba is a very export-oriented province and an export-oriented country, right? And so, finding ways to keep that sector healthy is really important to us.
You have done something special at Assiniboine, from my vantage point, with creating, growing, maintaining a women's hockey program. Tell me how special this women's team and their involvement, being able to play in the States with the ACHA, means to you as a college president.
Look, it's great. The Cougars are a huge source of pride for our college and our province. They've built a great program. They've been incredibly successful, and so people really value that. Our other athletic teams, it's an inspiration to them as well, as we compete in Manitoba leagues in the Canadian context. But the Cougars have just been exceptional in terms of being able to bring home a couple of national championships, and even in that year wiped out by the pandemic, having that undefeated season, is still something we talk about, right? Yeah.
How, just like you're talking about anticipating and meeting the educational needs of the province, how do you feel that, I think women's hockey across Canada is it's an untapped resource, but even more so, there are a lot of young women, especially in Canada, that don't even realize that hockey's available after high school. I spoke with a First Nations young lady yesterday from Manitoba playing at Dakota College Bottineau, and she's like, I wanted to play hockey so bad. How do you feel that you are just one of several that provide that opportunity for young women in the province of Manitoba?
Look, there's probably nothing that's done as much for creating a future for the sport as the development of the Women's Professional League, right? In Canada, at least, the tremendous source of pride the development of that league has been, I think, is going to give inspiration to people everywhere. It's going to be good for people like us in terms of young women wanting to continue their hockey careers beyond 15, 16 years old. And so, certainly one of the things about us joining the ACHA and having success is other ACHA teams have now come recruiting all over Manitoba, right? So, when I was upstairs earlier, I've got people who work for our college who are here supporting their kids who are playing at other colleges.
Right, yeah.
We were just chatting with a guy who's like on our foundation board whose daughter plays at another college, right? And so, I think not only has it been good for us and our college, it's been, I think, good for the entire league, because it's opened up a world of possibilities of people who want to keep playing, and maybe youth sports wasn't the answer for them.
As someone that's into sports, and you know what, and I'm so grateful for your support of ACHA hockey, and I'm going to get to that closer to the end. Do you encounter, not only in women's hockey, but do you encounter, with all the sports that you have at Assiniboine, do you encounter some people that have come back and gotten education because it's the vehicle that gets them to school, and then they get an education kind of?
Oh, for sure, right? Like, I tell this story all the time about. I was the president of a college before this in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, right, home of the Swift Current Broncos, right, and we
I think that's where Kelly Rudy played.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
So we started an athletic program down there, and not everybody was certain about this athletic program we had started, and an MLA or like a state legislator, right, came to me one day and said that he had been out one day having coffee in a rural area. And this young farmer came to coffee, and they were chatting, and he said, "Oh, look, I'm going to Cypress Hills College." And Wayne said, "Well, why are you doing that?" He said, "Well, I wanted to play volleyball." Right? And so he came to us to play volleyball, but he ended up taking welding. And he loved it. He was good at it. Became president of our student association, right? Then he, in addition to having the farm, he started the welding business. 3 or 4 years later, he came back to play a little more volleyball and to get his business degree to help move his welding business a little further, because he'd become now a full journey person. So, as I say, if that's what gets them in the door, that's fantastic, right? And for lots of young people, different things are going to inspire them, right? Whether that's the actual program of study, being involved in things like the student association, athletics, whatever gets them in the door. Why do I care? Like I want them to get in. I want them to get that education. I know they'll go on to a better life, right?
Yeah, I do. Mark, sincerely, I appreciate your support of the ACHA. It is awesome to have a school president to come down and support, and I know it means so much to the ladies, and wonderful to have Assiniboine back at the national tournament this year.
Look, thanks for having me on again this year. I really appreciate it.
Mark, great to see you. Mark Frison, president of Assiniboine Community College, Brandon, Manitoba.